welcome back to Shelabobby Handmade. My name is Caitlin, known just about everywhere on the internet as Shelabobby, and this is my podcast where we talk about finished objects, works in progress, knitting, crochet, a little bit of cross stitch, and acquisitions that I have got. So let's get started right in with finished objects. I have two for you today. The first one is my red and green socks. These are in Long Dog Yarns, Yarn of Enchantment, Long Dog Yarn of Enchantment, in the colorway red, green, or Christmas. And this was the monthly subscription that I had last year from Long Dog Yarn. I am, if you are new here, I'm making my sister a pair of socks from each of the Yarn of Enchantment installments. And I think, yeah, you can barely see them. I have two more skeins, the blue one, which was October, and then the gold one, which was December's. So I feel like I'm missing November's. Was this November? This might have been November. I don't remember. It's been a long month. But the pattern that this is in is the Serene Socks by 3 by the Sea Design, which is a very effective but simple pattern. It has a 4-row repeat, if I remember correctly, and just really gives a really nice texture. I like to use this pattern for heavily variegated skeins. So I think that's all of the construction details. I started this on January 18th and finished them February 3rd. I have been working on blankets, so socks have not been my main focus lately, but these were made on 9-inch circulars, which means that I used a US 1.5, 2.5 millimeter because my tension tightens. Is that the right? Anyway, I have to go up a half the size to be able to knit the same gauge. So these were done on 1.5, 2.5 millimeter 9-inch circulars. I think that's all the fun details. I will be giving these to my sister for Valentine's Day. So that is the plan for these. That's it. Let's just move my socks out of the way. The other finished object that I have is a test knit, which is a hat. So I'll show you that first. So this is the Athenium hat. I believe I've said that right. Athenium hat by Roro and Cades, also Kelly Menzies here on YouTube. And this is size 2 in the pattern. Obviously it's not out yet, but will be, I think it said the end of March, maybe. Anyway, I'll post it on my Instagram and let you know here when it's available. But I was selected for the size 2, which is not my head size. So this hat is not for myself. I have tried it on my niece and both of my nephews, and it looks fabulous on all 3 of them. So I think my niece will wind up with it, but I'm going to take some finished object photos of it on all 3 of them so that we can get a good idea of how it fits on someone's head. It is fingering weight yarn, and I used a fingering weight yarn that is quite thin, on the thin side of fingering. So my stitch definition is not fabulous. It's quite airy, which is great for North Carolina winters most of the time. So I am going to make myself another one. I'm going to go up to the size 3 and make myself one, and use a thicker fingering. This only used 26 grams of yarn, so it is a great scrap project. Some of the testers are also where the little garter ridge is here. They're using another color, so it's very, fun to change the colors. You could probably even change the colors each time. It has the little ribbing texture. I did like the way that the top came out. I'm always concerned about the crowns of hats, but the top came out very nicely. And yeah, so I will be making myself one, and I just got to pick some out of my scraps. That's, you know, about 40 grams for the larger size. And I'm going to be making myself one. So, oh, what is the yarn that I used? This yarn is called Rusty Nail, and it is by The Wicked Stitch, which is a North Carolina dyer, local-ish to me. Magda, she does beautiful colorways, and this was what I selected for this hat, which I think is beautiful, and my niece agreed, so that was going to be for her anyway. All right, so I started this on January 31st and finished it February 6th. I only started it on January 31st because Kelly, who is the designer behind this hat, she was also hosting a Crack the Whip Mal for her patrons, and I am a patron. So I wanted to participate in that, and the cast-ons had to be before February. So I cast it on, like, I don't know, 10:30 at night on January 31st so that it would count towards the Crack the Whip Mal. So that is the reason why there's so much time in between the two, because that weekend was crazy. Yeah, it was fairly quick to knit up, fairly simple, nice pattern, and it comes in 3 sizes. Okie dokie. That is all of the finished objects. I did want to notate what I am wearing today before we skip into the works in progress. This is my Knitrovert crew neck sweatshirt that I got from Nitty Natty, her shop. There may or may not be some Mexican chip, because I had Mexican food for lunch. But I don't know if she has these in her shop regularly, but I have a hoodie version and I have this crew neck one, and they are my favorite. All right, works in progress. Let's just mention that there are still a lot of blankets. I've been working on my blankets regularly, but also keep in mind that I'm working on a lot of different projects, which means that my progress in the 2 weeks may not be ginormous for some of them, whereas other ones, you're going to see a lot of progress. So just keep that in mind. The first one that I want to show you is my granny stripe blanket, which is called Granny Stripes from Lucy of Attic 24. The pattern is written for DK weight, and I am doing it in fingering weight, so just casting on more using a smaller hook. This bag is by the Fiber Fox with my suspicious bunnies. The hook that I am using is a 3.25 millimeter or a D hook. And I got quite a bit of progress on this. So this is for my mom, and I'm using leftover scraps. So I have 3 different scrap bins. I have my scraps that are like 50 to 25-ish grams that will be used for, you know, smaller projects like the hat, or will be used for heels, cuff, and toes, will be used for an accent color, whatever. The bigger scraps are in a is it organza bag over there in my regular stash pile. They've all been counted out of stash and are just considered scraps, but they are larger scraps. And then I have a bag for, or a box now, it wasn't a bag, but I have a box now that's on top of my bookshelf that has my scraps that are like less than 20 but more than 10 ish. And so I'm using that in this blanket, and then once I finish them in this blanket, whatever is left is going in my mini scrap bag, and that's going to be for a jelly roll when I cast that on. So I just separate my scraps in those ways. So anyway, I'm using leftover scraps from my granny stripe blanket, which lives on my bed back here, and the bunny marker there is where you saw it last time. So in 2 weeks, I have gotten quite a bit done compared to what was present the first time. I've been sticking to at least a stripe a day. sometimes I do 2 stripes if this is really, like, I'm enjoying this. And so sometimes I just stick with this and do, you know, 2 stripes, 3 stripes, but at least a stripe a day has been done since you've seen it. I have also sewn in all of my ends except for the last stripe that I did last night. So just a reminder, sew in your ends so that when it is done, you only have a few ends left, especially on scrappy projects. I think there's not too much to say about this. I'm just doing 2 rows, and that is what I'm considering the granny stripe. I am using between 8 and 9 grams per stripe. That is the blanket folded in half. I don't know the measurements of it yet, but that is the blanket folded in half. It is just meant to be a little throw blanket for my mom. I'm going to go ahead and move that marker so that I remember where I was. All right, marker is moved, ready for next time. I still have my stripe to do today, so that is ready to go. But yeah, I'm just grabbing random scraps. With this one, I'm being a little bit more methodical than my personal granny stripe blanket. That one I used advents, so I put advents in the order that I was given them. They were mostly swap advents, you know, not purchased ones from a dyer, but I was very random in my selection. This one I'm a little less random. I mostly look at the blanket and say, do I need a dark color or a light color? Do I need, you know, a warm color or a cool color? And just kind of keep it going back and forth. Okay, so that was the first one. I said that was by Lucy of Attic 24. My cast on number of chains, my number of chains, my starting chain, is listed in the project itself, both for that granny stripe blanket and my advent granny. So if you are interested in any of those numbers, they're available on the Ravelry project page. The next one is going to be my anthology throw. I believe that's in this bag. Indeed. So this is my Disney Epcot bag that I got while I was at Epcot on the 1st of the year. I'm using my Ruby and Roses 2024 advent calendar for this project. As soon as I saw like the first 4 colors of this project, I knew it was going to be an anthology throw. I've always wanted to make an anthology throw, but I feel like the colors just are super important in that. If you just have a Mod Podge of colors, I'm sure it looks great like a scrappy, but because the colors are so thick, unless you change them regularly, it just needs to flow, in my opinion. For my preference, of course. So I am currently attached to the second color. And I'm showing you the right side. So where that stitch marker is where I was when you guys saw it last. And I am officially in the second color. It is getting large fairly quickly, which I was surprised about. I'm surprised at the construction and how the construction works. I expect it to be increasing more, which you don't increase very often at all. So I'm interested in how that's working. I'm officially in the round. I think I look like a Star Wars Star Wars ship at the moment. But I'm officially knitting in the round, so no more magic loop, which is great. And then I'll get you a close-up on those colors for the second. It is going great. I am loving this. My friends Tanya and Crystal, I showed them this and they both cast on over the last week or two. And so we are kind of doing a mini make along for this blanket, which is fun. I have the stitch markers are for my beginning of round and for my progress one that I show you guys. I believe are from Sassafras. Yes, Sassafras Knits. I very rarely get on their website and there's actually stuff there because they sell out pretty quickly. They kind of do a update schedule and I always miss it. But I logged on one time and they had some listed and so I got them. And then I'm using this cheaper row counter for now. I ran out of row counters. I just have like some sports counters, points clickers or whatever that I usually use for my row counters, and they're all in use. So here is that second color. I am super happy and excited with this one. It's just amazing. All right, so that is the Anthology Throw. I did not say who that was by. The Anthology Throw is by Helen Stewart. It is a giant circle throw made specifically for Advents. I am making a modification to mine where I am not changing colors where she recommends. I'm using the mini completely. In the first color, that meant that I went 5 rounds past where she recommended the color change, and that's completely fine with me. I want to use up the minis completely, and I would rather have a bigger blanket than have leftovers. So I am just going to modify it and just be bigger. She has instructions in the pattern on how to expand the size, so I'm just going to follow that as far as adding an extra repeat or adding more rows on the border. So that is the Anthology Throw, and I'm going to throw it over there. The next one is the Go-Go Throw. I haven't done too much on this blanket, but I do want to show it to you anyway. This is in a Fat Squirrel Fibers bag. And this one, I am not attached. Perfect. This one, as I said, I did not do too much on it. I like this one less out of all of the blankets that I have on right now. And we'll talk about why, but let me show you the progress first. So when you guys saw it, I was on this salmon-y color here, and then I added the main color white stripe, and I have added in the next pink color completely. So that is where I am. Also, another reminder, sew in your ends when you're doing scrappy projects so that you don't have as many to sew in at the end. This project I am modifying as well. I have, I believe, 4 extra repeats of the pattern so that it is wider, and because it's built more like a wrap, and so I wanted it to be more like a throw, a blanket. So I have extra repeats in there, and then I took out a height repeat. So there's another, it's supposed to have another yarn over, what are those called? Eyelet section. It was supposed to have 3 eyelet rows rather than 2, and so I have just modified it to have less height, more width. The leftovers of this I am tossing in my scrap bag. It's less than 10 grams, so it'll be used in a jelly roll blanket. I'm using my Homespun House from 2023 Advent calendar. I think that's all of like the major modifications. Oh, in the last podcast, I talked about how I was having a hard time with the SSPs on this blanket. When you're doing the yarn overs, it's on the purl side, and otherwise you're knitting the entire time. Like there's very few purling, but on the yarn over rows, you are doing, it calls for SSP for part of it. And I was having a hard time with it. This blanket overall hurts my hands, so it's not something that I can work on for long periods of time. I don't know if it's just because there's so much going on, so much increasing and decreasing to create the chevron. I don't really know, but it's not something that's super comfortable for my hands. But I said in the last episode that I was going to have to figure something out with that because the SSPs are uncomfortable. And someone in the comments mentioned, you know, maybe looking up for an alternative because they did the same for the Go-Go Throw. So I looked up one, and I will link it below. I can't remember the channel name, and it's also linked on the Ravelry project page, that I am doing an alternative to the SSP, which is where you purl the first stitch, so it goes over to the right hand needle. You slip the second stitch knitwise so that it twists. You then move them both back over to the left hand needle, and you move that slip stitch over the purled stitch, and then you move the purled stitch back over to the right hand needle. Seems like a lot of moving, but it is quicker and easier than the SSP. So that is what I'm currently doing as my alternative. I did it completely on this pink stripe, and to me, my eyelets look cleaner because I was struggling with the eyelets. They were very wibbly and wonky because I just struggle a lot with that pearl. So in my opinion, the pink ones are looking a lot more uniform. So that is, the next part is the white yarn, which is Knit Picks Stroll Fingering. See if I can get it to focus there. And the colorway white. I just have 2 balls of this to add as the main color. And then I'll be adding number 4 into the stripe. The first color that I use is actually the 24th color. I just felt like it fit better in the ombre. So number 4 has not been wound up yet, but it will go there. All right. That is all for that one. Oh, this is by Amba O'Brien. I can't remember if I said the designer. So that is the Go-Go Throw by Amba O'Brien. Suspicious white band. All right. So the next one is my grandson. I don't have a grandson. My nephew. I was reading, I don't even know. I was reading and somehow that turned into grandson. We don't even know. My nephew, my eldest nephew, he got into the all district band for our area. And so last weekend we went to go see him, and then you have to travel like 2 hours to go to the, district hub. So we went to see him play and have lunch and all that fun stuff. So I took a simple knit project, which was my muscle burr. This is in a bag by Stitching the High Notes, who no longer makes bags, but it is my first knitting project bag that I got, and so it is cherished. In here, I did quite a bit of work on this. So where the pumpkin is where you guys saw it last. I believe I showed it in the last podcast. It's not something that I work on regularly. It's just kind of when I need stockinette knitting and not being able to see that well. Band concerts being one of them. So I did get quite a bit done during the performance. And I measured the hat, and I have 7 inches left before I go into the crown. So I still have quite a bit to go on this one. So this is the Muscle Burr hat by Ysolda Teague. The yarn is by Long Dog Yarn. And this is her colorway Mackenzie. It is on her tweed base, which she has a new tweed base, which you'll see in the next work in progress. But this is her Mackenzie colorway that she did for, I always forget it, Outlander. It's not something that I watch, so it often skips my mind. But this was for Outlander. And this was from her original release of the Outlander. And like I said, she's got a new base for her tweed sock. So that is where I am on my Muscle Burr hat. I will move up that marker so that I don't forget, because like I said, it is not a active whip. Just something I use from time to time. Alrighty. One more work in progress. I feel like I have so many whips. And most of that's because of the blankets. I enjoy switching back and forth. Like yesterday, I worked on my next whip, my Storm Seeker socks. Worked on those in the morning. Switched to the blanket stripe. Switched to my Anthology throw. Switched to the Haid Sow, which is also going to be something I show you in a moment, and then switched to the Go-Go Wrap, Go-Go Throw near the end. So I did a whole bunch yesterday, just switching and swapping between them. All right, so the last sock whip and knitting whip that I have is in this bag from The Little Grey Girl, which is a UK dyer. I love this little bag. It's so light and just scrunchable. Perfect for a pair of socks. Love it. It does have a little memory on it, which is a stain right there, and some on the inside where it's ketchup. I brought this to a baseball game to knit on, so it has some ketchup from my hot dog. These are my Storm Seeker socks. These were also cast on the 31st of January, so that it would be part of the Crack the Whip mal. She is also doing a Cozy Toes mal, which is where every 2 months of the year she's going to be doing a pattern or sock that she has out, that she has released. That's Kelly Menzies of Roro and Cade's, which is an open knit along, and you will knit the pair of socks that is designated in those 2 months and be entered for prizes as far as I'm aware. But I wanted to make these, and she extended it. It was going to be every month was going to be a different sock, but she said that herself she had trouble making the pattern sock in the month, so she's going to extend it to every 2 months. So I hopped on it to be part of the Crack the Whip mal, the Cozy Toes as well. So this is the Storm Seeker socks by Kelly Menzies or Roro and Cade's. And I picked this one out. This is the November one. That's why I was missing it. This is the November colorway from Long Dog Yarn of Enchantment in Oregon Mountains in her tweed sock. So this is the new tweed sock. It is 4-ply rather than 2-ply. And also a lot less tweeds, which is nice, in my opinion. So this is the Storm Seeker socks. It is I was intimidated by this pattern at first. Thought it was going to be very complicated, but it is not. It is fairly simple. It's a long repeat. Like, I can't memorize the repeat, but that's not a problem. I just have my little notebook that I keep my stitch patterns as I'm working on socks and things like that that have a repeat. Instead of me having the pattern open all the time, I just write down the repeat and then just have that in the book. This is the first sock. I have just finished the heel turn this morning, so ready to pick up the gusset stitches. But I'm using the contrast color for the cuff, and if I'm not mistaken, the pattern suggests a 1x1 twisted rib. I do not like 1x1, and I do not like twisted rib for my socks. So unless it really matters for it carrying on into the socks, which Kelly Menzies does quite a bit, I switched to a 2x2. So this one I did switch to a 2x2. I'm doing the adult medium, I think it is, or just the adult size, which is the 70 count inside of the pattern. I feel like that's a lot of stitches for an adult sock, but this sock is very rigid. There's not a lot of stretch to it, so I feel like it is necessary. Not too much else to say. I picked this one out of the yarns that I had to make a sock out of the Yarn of Enchantment socks. I picked this one because it reminded me of storm clouds, and since it's the Storm Seeker socks, I felt like it was a perfect fit. So first sock on that, we'll be picking up the gusset and then going on into the toe. I think that is all. I said it was Long Dog Yarn, Oregon Mountains, November. I think that's it. All right, moving right along. That is all of the knitting and crochet. I do have my Haid Sal, my cross stitch. So just one very quickly. If you're not into cross stitch, I understand. But I'll talk about it briefly. So I am doing the Haid, which is Heaven and Earth Design year-long Sal. I am doing this one, which is called Innocent Dreams by, I believe it's L&L Designs. And it is a big, square, ginormous, full coverage chart of an adorable sleeping bunny in a cabbage. I'm doing this as well with my friends Tanya and Crystal. They talked me into doing it. This is only my third cross stitch ever. I've done a teeny tiny pumpkin, and I've done a small non-full coverage for my sister for Christmas. So this is my third one. It's going well. I'm having no issues. I do have to frog quite a bit. You know, I miscount or misunderstand how the symbols on the chart, which is a lot, are working. But so far, it's been fun. So I'll put a picture somewhere on the screen of where it was last time, so 2 weeks ago. And then I'll show you, if I can get it out of the bag, where I am. So this is currently where I am at, which is 3,660 stitches. I do have, the last place I was working was right here. There's some black stitches in there, and I need to fill in the rest of this section with black stitches. And then we'll go into this section and there's some fill in there. And then I don't know where I'll go from there. I just kind of pick a random spot that has a cluster of colors and then go from there. It is important to me, so that I keep track of them, that while I am stitching, I do ones that start in a specific spot and are easily countable. So not one stitch here and then one stitch over here and one stitch over here and one stitch over here, because I will get lost and miscount. It's proven. So this is the end of page 1 right here. So my goal is to get page 1 finished by the end of March. No stress if not. I'm not really interested that much in the rewards for the stitch along. You have to complete 6 pages to get the rest of the charts for the stitch along, and then all 8 pages for a free chart. Again, not really concerned about it. I'm just having fun working on it. I want to thank Cam the Stitcher. I had questions. I was looking for these ties which help hold back the fabric. Oh, by the way, there's the back of it. I did tell you I would show you the back every time. It just holds the fabric back. I was using clips and they just kept falling off or popping off. I also have a skin condition where pressure and stuff like that causes hives. So I was just having trouble with those harder clips, and I see that people use these on their cross stitch a lot and just could never find them. I didn't know what they were called. They're just tie. They're called reusable ties or reusable cable ties, because you can like wind up your cables and they're magnetic, and then you can just wind them up that way and then reuse them. So that is what they were on Amazon. I got a whole pack of them, and I'm just using 4 on this project. I think that is all on this one. If you're interested in the fabric, I'm using a 20 count easy grid. I think it's by Zweigart, but I am not sure. I just got it from 123 Stitch. It was actually the one that Tanya sent me and said, this is what I'm using. And that's what I got. And it is in the white, and then it has the easy grid so that you can see it. When you are up close to it stitching, you do not see that gray. So I have put blue dots to help me notate the start and finish of a 10 by 10 grid. I think that is all. I've seen people who have completed the first clue, which is 4 pages this direction, and we'll get to a butterfly and the bunny ears. So I'm excited to get there. Right now we're just doing the kind of the background of the bunny, and I think we get into a little bit of cabbage leaves down in here. So excited to continue stitching on that. I have it stored in a Sheba Designs bag. I just have her card still stuck in there because her I think it's still in here also somewhere, unless it's gotten, oh, here it is on the ground. Her actual like cotton tag that goes in sewn in the bag came out, so just to keep an eye, because as you can see that one falls out, to keep a remember of who this bag was by. I keep her card in there. So Sheba Designs, and on the back is this fabric. All right, put that back over there. That is all of my works in progress. I do have one acquisition for you. I signed up for the Taylor Swift Swift Reads by Yarnaceous Fibers. And this is the postcard for the whole year. So she sent this. You'll get a sticker each year and you can kind of mark them off. So I have the first one there. Spoiler, it is all too well. It comes with a progress keeper, which I'm a mid Swiftie. Like, I listen to Taylor Swift. There are songs that I like, but I don't know like the whole lore behind things. I don't understand, you know, music videos or things that are related to it. I just know the songs. And this is the Progress Keeper that came with it. I totally thought that it was a red dress. It is indeed a red scarf. When I showed it to my sister, she knew that this meant that the yarn color was All Too Well. Couldn't tell you why. I have no idea. I mean, I get a 10-minute version Taylor Swift concert All Too Well for my sister every time we go to a concert. So I'm familiar with All Too Well, but I don't know exactly what the scarf represents. This is the yarn itself. And what the premise of this collection is: Taylor Swift songs that also have a book that is related to the lyrics. So there's a book that's called All Too Well. I have no idea who it's by. That's not referenced in anything that I have here, but it is the book is All Too Well, and then that color inspires them, I believe, like the book cover maybe. But yeah, I just like random yarns, and Taylor Swift yarns sounded fun. So most likely these socks will become socks for my sister, because that's what I do with my monthly club. I also have the Fangirl Fibers Cryptids monthly subscription. It shipped like 2 weeks ago, but stayed in like the holding pattern for a week. But I just got the notification that it'll be delivered tomorrow. So that one will come. That is in the DK weight. So I got the fingering, the Salta fingering for Yarnaceous Fibers, and then I have DK weight from Fangirl Fibers. So that one will come, and I'll show that in the next podcast. I think that's all. I don't have anything else on my notes to talk about. I'm continuing reading. I am on the last book of the Annihilation series. I can't remember what the last book is, but it's like before all of the events took place, and so far it's fantastic. It's this guy, he's reading through like the events, the logs of what happened before and after and during all of the events took place. So it's super interesting to read that. And then I have some books lined up. You guys gave me some great suggestions in the comments last time, and if you have any more suggestions for books, let me know. I don't prefer spicy books. I prefer some plot with with my spice, so super spicy books are just not for me. But if you have some recommendations for me, let me know down below. They can be series, they could be individual standalone books, they can be of any genre or type. I like all types, except for super spicy. So just let me know about that. But yeah, everything else is going great, and I am just rambling now. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.